Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
When we work with leaders all the time, one of the things we say is you need to be strategic, not sporadic. Unfortunately, many of us have missed the memo when it comes to being strategic outside of work. Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And we're going to continue this conversation on winning begins at home, really talking about accelerating our success. Winning begins at home. We got a book coming out in just a couple of weeks. And Mark, today's conversation is going to help us be a little more intentional, a little more focused when it comes to life outside of work. So I'm excited about having this little conversation with you today.
Yeah, it's going to be great. You've been fantastic over the years reminding me and others that if you win at work and lose at home, you still lose.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you've invested the last 5 years of your life putting this together. And I think it's going to serve leaders around the world.
Well, it wasn't exactly, it's kind of on and off for 5 years, but there's been some heavy lifting here lately. So we're excited about having the book come out just in a couple of weeks. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So one of the things you talk about in the book is the importance of a blueprint. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened years ago, I say years ago, it's been a couple of decades ago now. My wife, Laura, says to me, "Hey, I want a house." And I'm thinking, we have a house. Why do we need, do we, that's what I told her. Like, we have a house. And she's like, "I want another house." And I'm like, "We don't need two houses." I don't want this house anymore. It was that conversation, we got to have a new house. And I'm like, "Why do we need another house?"
I know you've been working on your listening, but keep going.
I've been trying. And anyway, we've got 4 daughters and, I wasn't thinking properly at the time. I never think probably properly at the time, but she's like, "We only have 1 bathroom for the 4 of them, and that's not going to work." And she was right. That was going to be a problem. And so I should have known, because we just before that, probably 2 or 3 years before that, had moved from the sedan to the minivan. You get where you can't close the doors in the back with 3 car seats, and we were going to have a 4th, and not going to work. So we moved up there, and you're just always looking to expand when you're trying to grow something. And we're trying to grow a family. And so she's like, "We got to have more room." And so I'm like, "Okay, I don't know anything about building a house." And, do you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get some boards? And that's not going to be a plan. Like, we got to have a plan here if we're going to do this. And she says, "I've got a plan." And she literally has a blueprint drawn out. She's gone to, the office supply store, gotten the graph paper. Every little square is a square foot of the house. She's got this. She's thought through this, and I hadn't. And so I'm like, this is pretty cool. And now we've been there 20 plus years. Kids have grown up. They're gone. We've got more bathrooms than we need now. But I say that we've got a bunch of grandkids coming back now. But it's amazing how when you take that blueprint concept and you say, we're going to build something, if you know what you're trying to build, you've got a lot better shot of it being close anyway to what you had envisioned. And it's much like we would talk to a leader about having a vision for their company
Sure.
or what they're trying to accomplish as well. And so it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's ironic that most of the leaders I know, all the good leaders I know, understand the power of planning.
They know.
And they plan for sales, and they plan for profitability, and they plan for innovation, they plan for succession. But for some reason, far too many leaders don't take those skills and apply them outside of work.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. And you wrote a book years ago, remember Chestnut Checkers, and we've done a lot of work on that and created stuff about building a high performance organization. But that book at its essence is a little bit about, you got 2 choices. You can fly by the seat of your pants when you try to build your business. I'd say the same thing in your family. You can just see what happens, or you can give some thought to it. And, what's the old chess players, a few moves ahead, and there's some strategy involved. And I think people get a little bothered by the idea of having strategy at home. And I understand home is home, but I think if we have some thought to what kind of family we want and some of that, we'll talk about that here in these coming days. But I just think there's a more of a likelihood that we end up with a family that we feel great about versus a family where I know a bunch of people who are like, I have a lot of regret because I didn't give more thought to this and I wasn't more present, and some of those things that we will get into. But
Yeah, for those that don't like the term strategic applied to your home, I would just ask you to consider the concept of intentionality.
yeah, that's right.
And
Or even focus, if you want to use
well,
that word. But
intentionality,
it's-
and that should fuel focus.
Yeah, that's
if you
exactly
wanna,
right.
If you want to raise kids that respect adults,
Yeah.
then you focus on that.
Yeah.
If you want to raise kids that have healthy sleep patterns, you
Yeah.
focus on that.
That's
so I
right.
think the intentionality probably informs the focus.
For sure. And I'll say one other thing here too, before we end today. But some people who are listening may need to think more of a renovation, not a build. Like we needed to build a new home.
You were starting from scratch.
We were starting from scratch. There are some people who are starting a family. We've got a bunch of young leaders listening. We got some comments from them. They were excited about. They knew we were doing this series, and they were excited about it. If you're building a new home, I mean, that's a new family. That's a good starting point. But there's some people that are listening who you look at your family and it's like, it's not like I want it to be. Could it be different? And I think there's a renovate. You've actually renovated some properties, and there's a lot of work that goes into that, and you still need a plan and
You still need
some
to be
focus.
intentional.
You still need to be intentional. And so I think if you're listening and you're just needing a reset, this is a good time to really hop into the show these next few days. We're gonna jump into some of that, some of the what we would call the fundamentals of a great family over these next few days. And so, yeah, I think no matter where you are, there's always a chance for us to improve, right?
Right. There's various life stages will
Exactly.
give you opportunities when you were building a family and raising kids and launching kids, and in your case, grandkids coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, you too. I mean, I know
Yeah.
we're in a different season now, and so I think no matter which season you're in, there's all of us are going to have some things that we can learn here over these next few days, and so yeah, I think the different seasons part of it has been pretty interesting. As we're just starting out. I'm probably thinking about it differently than I am at this point. And I don't want a leader to get to this point where they're older and then look back and go, I wish somebody had told me that before. And so that's one of the things I'm most excited about, that people who will read this book are going to have some ways to think about their family maybe in a different way than they have before.
So I know where this is headed in upcoming episodes, but I'd encourage you today to think about your life beyond work and apply some strategic or intentional thinking. Begin to imagine what could be, and we'll help you unpack that in the days ahead.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great reminder. All right. We love you guys. I hope you'll come back tomorrow. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.